Hey there. Well, there's already somebody watching. Who the heck's watching? Somebody thumbed up. How is that possible? Anyway, hi. If you can hear me, can you let me know if you can hear me by saying so in the comments? We've got the microphone set up. And I fired this up a full 9 minutes before the start of the live. So I want to have a little time to set everything up. So if you can just let me know in comments if you're able to see this. And likewise, I'm going to see if I can go over here in YouTube, and then I can see the comments as they appear here. Oh, softypapa is live. I just got a notice. Oh, hi Lucas. Hi. Life Kyle Bush for Life 18. That's a heck of a name. Lucas, can you hear me all right? Great. The quality's coming through. I chose today, we're in the Marriott lobby, and it's going to be lots of people. They're starting to fire up the morning. People are doing all their stuff. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to have to pull out some of my principles here, namely the principle of temperance, to temper down my emotion and anxiety while I sit here and read from my book with people milling all around, or even maybe sitting there on the couch. But let me see if I can find the thing here so I can see it over here. Just a second here. You know, becoming a senior citizen, God, it's new, easier moderation. Press the Alt key to pause the chat, then point to the message, and to delete it, block the user or take other actions. Oh, I don't like to block anybody. Audio video is perfect. Thank you, Warren RCG. Is that a play on the Warren G persona? I'm watching my head tilt back and forth in here. Anyway, it's like a dog seeing themselves in the mirror. Okay, it looks like I've got that set up and that set up. Let me see if I can type something. No. Oh, okay. The only reason I mentioned that, Warren, is that I ran into Snoop Dogg. Literally, almost ran him over. He was bent down on the concrete over here while I was doing my walk, and I was reading a different book, and he was bent over and he was getting something out of his bag, and I almost plowed over him. You know, Snoop Doggy Dog. And then afterwards, someone told me, "You probably didn't see Snoop Dogg. You probably saw Warren G, because Warren G lives down here in Casa de Coda, which is a little community right down the street." And then she said, "No, that's not Warren G. That's Nate Dogg." I don't know who. I've heard these people's names. Senior citizen here. Okay, let me share out to the various and sundries platforms, Facebook. So, but Warren RCG, I want to give you credit for being Warren RCG, not for being somebody else. Some people do mistake me for being connected to the Alexander Graham Bell family, but I'm not. The rapper? I guess, yeah, it was Snoop Dogg. I actually ran into Snoop Dogg. I almost ran him over. The rapper, you know, DU to the double G, senior citizen style. Okay, let me see if I can share this out. I'm copying the link. I think I've got this really figured out now. And it's all plugged in. I don't have to worry about time. I say, hey everyone, I'm live and behaving like a senior citizen over on YouTube. Come join me if you like. Bring your own Starbucks. Okay. Oh, I should add a little bit about the fact that I'm reading something. I'll be reading from my book, Going Alone. Specifically, the chapter titled Siberia Bridge. Okay. Hello everyone. Because I'm a project manager, and I always, before I send out my stuff, I always read it so I don't make mistakes. Hey everyone, I'm live and behaving like a senior citizen over on YouTube. Come join me if you like. Bring your own damn Starbucks. Bring your own Starbucks. I'll be reading from my book, Going Alone. Actually, that should not be a semicolon. Specifically, the chapter titled Siberia Bridge, and then I'll put in the hashtag Going Alone. and I need to paste in the video. There we go. There we go. Hold on. I still got 4 minutes. See, I'm still early. And I'm going to refresh that. Leave page. That link didn't go the first time. Here we go. That looks good. Send that. So, good. I sent that over. Hey, everybody. No, that worked. Okay. Now let's go over here to the softypapa page. See, I've got the main Facebook page for moi, and then I've got the softypapa page for, which is my adventure persona. Having a little bit of an identity crisis lately with all these darn identities. Sharing that. Go. And now we'll go over to the going alone page, because everybody needs at least 3 profiles. And I'll share that. Bingo. And now I'll go over to the video and I'll share it on, can I share it on LinkedIn and bring in all my potential future bosses into the fun? And then they'll never hire me. Not that I ever plan to leave my current job. I'll stay there as long as they'll keep me. Here we go. And then Twitter, do the same. And I think and then that's it. And Tumblr too, for good measure. And we're 3 minutes away from starting. And that's it. I'm all shared out. Okay, there's that. I think I'm starting to get this down. Now, let's see if I can open up just the chat so I don't have to look at myself. Because that's very distracting to see yourself. Because I move here and then it moves over there a half second later. The Ghost of Sabotage. Hey Kurt, how's life in the family? They're asleep. Hold on, let me see if I can. But they're doing good. I'll answer that in just a second. Let me see if I can make this bigger. I think there's a way to pop the chat out. Pop out chat. There it is. Great. Now, and I don't want to learn more about that. Okay. Let me click on the learn more so that'll go away. Okay, there you go. And now bring this up. There we go. All right. I think all things are ready to go. As they say in the military, 5 by 5. And so the Ghost of Sabotage, longtime friend of the channel, asking me, hey Kurt, how's life in the family? The family are doing good. So begin with my wife, Yumiko, although she doesn't really want me to share too much about this. In general, my family is very non-interested in being shared on social media or YouTube. Since we came back to the United States especially, they've always been this way. But since we came back to the United States especially, they're more interested in just not participating in all that. That's one of the reasons why I don't share very much. The other reason is that there's always been some creepy people out there. But as Emily has become more of an adult, some particularly creepy ones have shown up. And I don't like that. So, as they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So that's what I'm doing with these people. But I'm not throwing any logs on the fire, so to speak. So that's one of the reasons why I don't share very much about Emily, especially pictures. Yes, got to keep them safe. It's amazing how there are people out there, and I don't know that they're dangerous, but they certainly don't seem to have a clue about propriety. So yeah, that's another reason why I don't share very much about this. And also, this is really my gig, right? So, but as for Yumiko, had some really good news recently. She asked me not to share very much, but huge big news happened in her life. Very, very good. Very good for the family. Very good for our long-term prospects here, and very good for her own sense of self-esteem. And yeah, Warren, I hope you don't mind me just calling you Warren. I'll struggle over the RCG. Yeah, it really is too bad that some people are like that. In Emily's life, she's about to graduate from high school. That's coming up in about 2 weeks, and she had her ditch day on Friday, senior ditch day. She and her girlfriends went up to which is quite an official thing. Apparently the whole school was emptied out. The whole senior class was emptied out. There was one girl, Emily showed me a video of one girl who showed up for class and just panned around, and there was nobody in the class, in the senior class, just the teacher, and the teacher said, I'm out here, and the teacher left. So, in my day, ditch day was kind of an informal thing. It's just some people did. But I guess today it's a real thing. Oh, and I see I'm over the bottom of the hour, so I should start. So just to wrap up the question, Emiko's doing good, really great news in her life that I'll keep between me and the kitchen sink. Emily's about to graduate. She's already enrolled in college. She's going to be going, well, I won't say anything. She's already enrolled in college, and very excited about that. She's starting to bubble up some interesting career plans. Very exciting stuff. And what's really exciting is that she may be taking after dear old dad in terms of her choice of academic studies. I guess all the many times I've told her how much the line of study that I chose has helped me throughout my life, I guess has sunk in. And as for me, I'm doing good. Very busy at work, very happy at work. Really grateful for what I do. I work for, basically, I work for the government, and in a part of the government that I get to really help people. You know, the work that I do really makes a difference in people's lives of people who are suffering. And I've developed this methodology for project management that is beginning to get traction and getting interest, not just within my own organization, but within larger county organizations. And who knows, might be something that the county will be using. Thank you, the ghost. I appreciate for your nice words. So anyway, it's time to get started. It's actually at this point I'm 2 minutes overdue. So welcome everybody to this is my monthly book reading of Going Alone. Going Alone is the book that I wrote over about a 3-year period, beginning with my last year in Japan, and then the 2 years, including the 14 months that I was alone here in the United States. Kind of makes sense, going alone, right? I spent over a year separated from my family, sleeping on a sleeping bag on the floor, and I produced this on a hard concrete floor, no less. But that is not, the book is not about any of that. The book is the culmination of my life, basically, of, you know, to this point. It's interesting that I become a senior citizen this last week, and I feel that, you know, I kind of crossed a line, I don't want to, a line beyond which there's no return. You know, the greater effort of my life is past in terms of pushing frontiers. It's from now on, I expect it to be diminishing returns insofar as my physical and mental capacities go. I can still do things and I can still think things, but I think my prime is over. And I'm glad that I cut this out before that happened. That harkens to one of the principles in the book, which is the principle of the season of philosophy, which is the suggestion that we strike while the iron is hot at whatever age, because after a while the muse will pass and that opportunity will be gone. You're a senior. Well, thank you. Yes, I am officially now a senior citizen. I've been rocking my senior discount. I'm going to sign up for my ARP card, and then I can flash my ARP card and get it, but I've got 10 cents off my Starbucks this morning off that. The old grandpa discount. Thank you, Ghost. So anyway, strange thing to be reading from Siberia Bridge today. I'm going to move this back just a little bit because the glare of the screen, that ain't going to help. But maybe that's better. Let's see. The good thing is that the microphone, ooh, that's better. See, the microphone is here, so I can move the camera way the heck back there. And it's still good. Hey, I like that. That's better. Yeah, and I got a thumbs up for that too, for the decreased glare. So it's kind of a funny thing that I'm reading from the Siberia Bridge chapter, because I just read the whole darn Siberia Bridge chapter last week in Siberia when I was out for my overnight. I made 4 efforts. I tried to read it 4 times in the Siberia ruins. The wind was howling, and even below the bridge there was too much wind. So I went and I snuggled up in the ruins of the ghost town under the bridge and under the wall of the old post office there, and I read it. It took 4 passes to get it just the way I wanted. It's a short chapter. So I'm going to read it now, and I've decided to do this in 2 ways. I'm actually making an audio version of the book. So it's going to be the whole book read from cover to cover. And I'm 3 chapters in so far. and that's going to be on my YouTube channel initially, with each of the chapters individually as an individual video edited together. And then when this is all done, I'm going to take all of that together, splice it all together somehow, and maybe just put a picture of, the ghost town or the bridge, and then just have that as an audiobook that someone could click on and listen to the whole thing. Yeah, I will. If I will figure out Ghost of Sabotage, I will try to figure out how to get it on Audible, if they'll take me. That's always the case. So I can come around saying, "Hey, I got this thing," and nobody cares. But it'll be on YouTube and it'll be on my website. Oh yes, I had something interesting happen on the website yesterday. Yumiko and I were out, and my phone went ding, and I looked down, and there was someone on my website, which happens sometimes. People come and the phone lets me know that there's someone browsing on the website. Goingalone.org is what it's called. And I said, oh, somebody's on the website. And he can tell you where they are. They're on the visitor page or wherever they are. And suddenly there was a message, and it said, I think it's like, is this the Kurt Bell, or is this Kurt Bell? And I said, let me go, hold on, I got to respond to this. Yes, it is. And I talked. We were chatting. I'd never done that before, chatted with someone live on my website, because I enabled that feature. And within just a few minutes, and she was asking me about, because you can buy the book from the website. If you buy the book on the website, I throw in, look, and then I just got a notice on the screen. Someone just popped into the website. It says Wix notification. One of you just went over there. Thank you. So as you meander around, if I wasn't on the phone here, I could see. I feel it feels kind of awkward. I can see where you are, and I can actually interface with you, and I can send you a coupon too, things like that. But you can buy the book, and this person, it's a female. She went ahead and asked me a few questions about the book. She bought the book, and she gets the stones and the signature, and I'll throw in the stickers too. And that was the first time that happened. And before Yumiko and I were off to do our thing, we had chatted. I had sold a book online, augmented by that, and it looks like someone else just popped on the book, and someone else just popped on the website. I can see you all as you drop into the website. I can see the thing coming up. So there's 3 of you over there now. Thank you. If you decide to buy the book, you can go, and I'm not doing this to sell the book, but I am. Go to the purchase link, and you can buy, there's 2 versions. You can buy it on Amazon, or you can buy it through the website itself. If you buy it through the website, I'll sign it. It'll come with your name. It'll be signed right there. And you'll get 2 stickers, and the Going Alone stickers. And you'll get 2 desert stones. And if you act within the next 30 minutes, I'll give you a set of Ginsu steak knives. But let's get started. Okay, so like I said, I read this thing twice or several times, and I got a really good cut out of it, I think, if I do say so myself. So it was like the 5th time I read it. Really ended, just when I ended it, someone says, Peter says you're gonna, the Ghost of Sabotage, will you buy the book? We'll buy the book when I get paid. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Get one for your dog too. Thanks, Peter. Hey, Peter, nice to see you. It was a good cut, because just as I finished reading the chapter, one of the trains came by. You could hear and then the blasting of the horns, and I just turned the camera, and you could watch the train go by. It was really nice. But come to think of it, if there was any chapter that I would have read under the bridge, you'd think that would be the one, but I didn't. So anyway, this is going to be an annotated version of the videos. So there's two ways to make these videos. One is, like I said before, just a pure reading of the thing, and that's going to go into the audiobook. And then there's the annotated version, which is where I can stop and talk about things. And I did that in one of the hikes, I think it was called the Cold Gate hike, and not like the toothpaste, the Cold Gate, last winter, where I was stopping all the time and reading little bits and pieces. Each one of those was a little video. And in the book, in the online version of the book, you can click on that little piece. If you're reading a little poem, you can click on it and listen to me read the poem and talk about what it meant. This is the annotated version of the book. So I'm going to open to the chapter, Siberia Bridge, which is not a very long one. And I don't think I'll get through the whole thing, because I only plan to do this for another 15, 20 minutes or so. Today's my family's taking me out for my birthday today. So I'm going to get out here. They're still asleep. Get over there, walk the dog, and they're taking me out. I'm going to they're buying me a present. and they're taking me to lunch and maybe a movie, although maybe the movie tomorrow. Emily says I need to see the new Marvel, movie. She says it's just phenomenal. She's seen it like 3 times. Anyway, she said she bought like a big thing of popcorn with her boyfriend, and she didn't even eat the popcorn because she was crying through half the movie. It's that good. He's a nice guy too. I like Emily's boyfriend. Took the 2 of them to Disneyland 2 weeks ago. I didn't know they made such fine young men. Or maybe he's just got me fooled. Anyway, here we go. Siberia Bridge, where I wrote the story. Siberia Ghost Town in the East Mojave Desert is flanked on the north by the BNSF railroad line, which runs east and west through a great expanse of otherwise quite empty desert. On the other side of the ghost town, running parallel to the railroad, is Route 66, or the Mother Road, as it is sometimes called. Both corridors of traffic, rail and road, have existed here in various forms of improvement for more than 100 years. I first found Siberia Ghost Town after spotting from the road the lone standing stone wall, which now serves as the center of the empty community which once was. I noted the wall while driving eastbound on Route 66, probably just as I was driving over the bridge, which would later factor so significantly in the tale of the writing of this book. So, Siberia Bridge is the 3rd chapter in the book. It's very early still. So the first chapter is the introduction, where I basically lay the groundwork for what this whole story is. The second chapter is called The Cast, and in the cast I lay out all of the places and characters. I can't say they're people because it's just me, but I have all these fictional characters that are in the book. The homunculus and the muse and my little god and things like that. And I define what all these are. And that was given to me from a suggestion from a friend who read the book, who said that she kept trying to look around, trying to find, okay, Kurt's talking about that homunculus thing again. What the hell is that? So it meant to be initially a glossary of all these terms, but grew into a chapter of its own. And it's the 2nd chapter in the book. Siberia Bridge gets its own short chapter because it plays such a significant role. Siberia really is the epicenter and home of all of my activities out there in the desert now. It's where I spend most of my time. It's where I do all my writing, almost all of it, in the desert at least. It used to be I would be wandering around all over the place and doing it. Now I settle down under the bridge. I have a chair and I have some chalk. Pardon me. The bridge really has become a second home. And I found it one day. Well, I didn't have my motorcycle yet. I was in a car driving along Route 66, looking for a place to park the car so I could go for a hike deep in the desert. And I saw that lone standing wall, that same one that comes up in all the photos and that I hid behind to read this chapter. I saw that, and I saw a little road leading to it. I didn't know what it was, so I drove out there, and that was the beginning of my discovery of Siberia, ghost town. Siberia, by the way, is a ghost town. I certainly didn't notice the bridge when I passed over it that first day back in 2015. I was simply exploring the East Mojave by car, moving slowly along Route 66, checking the road on either side for anything of interest for potential exploration. In fact, I wasn't looking for anything near the highway in particular. I wasn't much interested in, my mind is one. In fact, I wasn't looking for anything near the highway in particular, as I wasn't much interested in anything too close to the civilizing touch of either the highway or the railroad. And I was instead searching for good places where I could safely park my motorcycle car some distance away from the road while I went for a long desert hike. Okay, I got a confession, I changed that. So 2 things. One, like I said, I wasn't looking for a ghost town in particular. I was looking for simply a safe place where I could get the car some distance from the road so I could leave it and ditch myself deep into the desert, because I was looking for solitude, which is my perennial destination, right? To be alone in the wild so that you can get away from the civilizing touch of humanity, as I mentioned in there. And I did lie a little bit there. And it was a car, not a motorcycle, but I changed it for literary purposes, because I thought for consistency, because the rest of the book occurs by motorcycle, and I thought it was a little confusing to have that one reference to a car, so I changed it just to have consistency. So, when I saw the ruins of Siberia, I wasn't drawn to these for their own sake, but instead to the fact of a relatively well-maintained, short dirt road which left the highway leading to what appeared to be the ruins of a very old building. "That'll do," I probably said as I flicked on the left turn signal. I didn't say that. And made my way carefully off the Route 66 asphalt and onto the dusty road. The distance from the highway, okay, so there was that. So I remember seeing that from the road, flicking the turn signal, and just making my way off. The distance from the highway to the ruins is about the length of a football field, not far at all. And the dirt road is in pretty good shape, seemingly well-traveled and well-maintained, which was an anomaly to me at the time. I couldn't quite figure out why that road was in such good shape. It's a very good dirt road. Certainly don't need my dual sport to get over that. I'll find out later. I would later learn that this was, I would later learn that this was due to the ongoing attention of the railroad workers. And there's a little footnote right there. Let's see what that footnote is. So it's footnote number 5. So if I go all the way back to the appendix, 5. Now remember, Henry David Thoreau was a great inspiration for all this. So any reference to him is significant. 5. Henry David Thoreau also had a railroad and railroad workers to reflect on during his time in the woods. He uses their example and industry in providing commentary on our curious self-domestication. From the first chapter of Walden, quote, "We do not ride on the railroad, it rides upon us. Did you ever think what those sleepers are that underlie the railroad? Each one is a man, an Irishman, or a Yankee man. The rails are laid on them, and they are covered with sand, and the cars run smoothly over them. They are sound sleepers, I assure you. And every few years, a new lot is laid down and run over, so that if some have the pleasure of riding on a rail, others have the misfortune to be ridden upon. And when they run over a man that is walking in his sleep, a supernumerary sleeper in the wrong position, and wake him up, they suddenly stop the cars and make a hue and cry about it, as if this were an exception. I am glad to know that it takes a gang of men for every 5 miles to keep the sleepers down and level in their beds, as it is. For this is a sign that they may sometime get up again." So that was a passage that I remembered Thoreau writing about, because he had his cabin. I've been to his cabin on Walden Pond. I've been to the site of the cabin. And the railroad is not far away. You can actually hear the trains go by. And he had his own, not that I'm likening myself in any way to Thoreau, but he had his own, in his little secluded place at Walden, he had his own interval of the railroad passage, just as I have in Siberia. So come back to that. I would later learn, remember, I'm reflecting on why the dirt road was in such good shape. I would later learn that this was due to the ongoing attention of the railroad workers, trackmen, signalmen, linemen, railroad police, and others who make their living keeping this stretch of railroad in safe operational order. I later come to know some of these men, swell guys, honest, hard-working men, people I respect, and I always strive to stay out of their way when I'm at Siberia, and never allow myself to become a nuisance to their hard, honest labor. That is a truth. I see those guys out there constantly. Not constantly, it's like, if I'm out there for a full day, I'll see one of the utility trucks maybe drive up the road to go to, and the guy that does it, his name is Matt. I've come to know him. Sometimes, if it's Matt, he'll stop and say hi to me if I'm nearby. And then there's also the big, giant trucks that come up sometimes. Last week at Siberia, there was a lot of activity. A train with 3 locomotives at the lead. One of the locomotives had some trouble climbing the Mojave Grade, and they pulled it over at the Siberia crossing. A team came out and they decoupled the lead locomotive, separated it from the herd, and then moved the other trains into a siding. There's a big siding up there too, while waiting for a 3rd locomotive to arrive to haul it out. So there was a lot of activity. That was unusual. Usually I just see them pop in briefly, and almost never at night. Can't think of really a single time I've seen the railroad guys at night. And once, maybe twice a year, the railroad police will come by. And they know me as well, or at least a couple of them do. They worry about me. They're nice guys. Scary looking. Oh my gosh. They really, the railroad really makes their railroad police scary, because I think that's a big part of their job, is just to intimidate people to stay the hell away from the railroad. In fact, I found labor here, and I'm talking about their labor at the railroad. So now I say, in fact, I found labor here too, of a sort. Though I'm never paid for my efforts, Siberia has become a quite effective work site and source of inspiration for me for both my writing and my videos, as well as my every effort of improved living. The ghost town, and in particular the bridge under the highway near the town, are where my desert muse does seem to live and reside. Now, the muse is a character that I described in the chapter called The Cast, and the muse percolates throughout this entire book. The muse is a real thing. The muse is not a real thing. The muse is simply that confluence of moments and of thought and of caffeine and the like that suddenly make it possible to write something that captures a sentiment or a feeling. And I've come to know it very well. And like I said, when it arrives, you better get it down, or it will pass. And in this book, there are complete sections that are dedicated to that. You can see, and then here, this says notes from my muse. So in this particular chapter, when I'm done with the prose part, I begin with the notes from my muse. Each of these, which is separated by, this one's better, look at the next page. See how they're all separated by little tilde marks? Each of those little sections is a blurb that was inspired by the muse that I could not recreate. It's an artifact of that particular moment. That's the muse, and it's nothing supernatural. I don't believe it's inspired from on high or anything. I don't think there is any on high. It's just the lucky happen chance of life, and that I read down at the moment. So someone has a question. JK says, hello Kurt, I've been enjoying seeing you back out in the desert. Thank you, I appreciate that. I know it's getting a lot monotonous for some. Sorry about that. It's just that the muse lives in the desert. There's no muse, for me at least, in the sea or in the mountain or in society. Okay. Though I'm never paid for my efforts, Siberia has become a quite effective work site and source of inspiration for both my writing and my videos. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. As well as my every effort of improved living. The ghost town, and in particular the bridge under the highway near the town, are where my desert muse does seem to live and reside. Live, despite the fact my muse is quite dead and non-existent, a figment of my imagination, alive, in a sense, only as long as I live, and have the will and the way and the motive force to breathe life into something only my own musings might create. My muse did find me here in the desert, in the ghost town of Siberia. She did then follow me far out into the desert, where she mostly shadowed my movements, nearly always silent, refusing to speak to me among the holy relics of the dead mountains and forgotten wastes of a landscape that never cared and never lived and never knew or loved or possessed any dear sentiment, thought, or capability which our species might attribute to life. Long, convoluted sentences like that are my homage to Thoreau, who wrote that way and whose writing I just love. I love when you can pack a lot of thoughts into an organized package and deliver it in a lyrical manner, which I strive to do in my own writing, not deliberately, but through pure, honest respect and reflection on my own literary heroes. So the muse, it's a curious thing. The muse never follows me out to the desert, or if she is, and I liken her as she, if she is, she remains hidden. At Siberia, the muse will talk to me. Under the bridge, the muse amply talks to me. But when I venture out into the deeper desert, alone, way out there, the muse says nothing. I know she's there. She says nothing. And sometimes I get out there, way the hell out there, and I like, why did I come out here? There's no words, because I go out there looking for the poetry, right? That's what I'm hunting for, is for poetry. And I was like, why did I come out here? But then it's later, when I return, that the muse, whatever seeds the muse planted in my mind, start to bear fruit. But as soon as they pop up, you better write it down. Boy, that was a long sentence. My muse was my unloving, unfeeling, unthinking, and unliving imagined escort through a place through which I could never pass without her attentive ministrations and silent whispered hints of something more to be found beyond my adventures and excursions, something to be found in the place I'd left behind. In a life I must love, should love ever be anything to dissuade the emptiness, it was then too late to unsee or forget. The muse is my desert voice, a silent soliloquy and homage to what I can never truly know, or share, or escape from. My muse resides and originates from under that desert bridge. If ever there was, and someone else just went to the website, thank you. If ever there was a reason to go to the desert alone, it's in those 2 or 3 paragraphs, 2 or 3 sentences, and someone else just went, hi, lots of traffic at the site. It's something, and a third person, hey, wow, all of a sudden people are popping into the website, hey. www.goingalone.org. Drop on by. Okay, here we go. New paragraph. So what part does the bridge at Siberia play in all this? Was there some poetry to be found beneath the girders and beams holding up the highway? Did the muse follow me from somewhere else in the desert or Japan to that place in the shade beneath the road? Does my muse live there still while I am away? Can the muse be found there after I am gone? Maybe. Or if someone ever came with me to the desert? No. Why the bridge? What role does that place play in this story? Shade and shelter are... dramatic pause. What role does that place play in this story? Shade and shelter are the answers. A refuge from the heat and fury of the desert summer. I came to the bridge out of necessity, and then discovered a place of catalyst for what I might immodestly call my art. Yeah, the bridge is the place where the universe converges in my mind. It's something about, especially the summertime, something about the desert roasting under that shade. It's a big, wide expanse. Under that thing, deep in that dark, in that shade down there, with the desert roasting out there at 110 plus degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius out there, and me down there, escape from the inferno. There's something about that brings out the words. Someone says, the ghost says, I'm guessing you'd build a small house out there if there could. No, I would not. I strive to keep my possessions out there at a minimum. I have a chair and a box of chalk under the bridge, a folding chair, and I had a tripod under there, but I decided to take the tripod out, not to protect the tripod, but because I was civilizing the place too much. I do not want anything out there. I would definitely not want to buy property. I would definitely not want a home. That would be counter to the effort, to this effort. It's better to. That's another thought. I'll leave that alone. No, I do not want those things. The less, the better. One more thought on that. In Walden, Thoreau describes before he settled at Emerson's property by the side of the lake, borrowed it for a summer, for 2 years actually. He surveyed several homes that he almost bought. He almost bought one farm. And he went to them and he had talked to the owner and he was going to buy the farm. So he was trying to find a place to live. In the end, he settled on not buying any place at all. And he describes how he could, in his meanderings through Concord and the surrounding countryside, I wish I had a copy of Walden sitting here, right here, I could read it. He talks about how he surveyed every farmer's land, measured its fields, walked the length of the perimeter, had a look at the farmhouses and the barn, and cataloged in his mind the potential outcome, product of the fields. All of that, and without being burdened by the ownership of said property, moving on. In essence, he had, as he said, as Thoreau's inimitable way, he had got the harvest out of the property without having to acquire it. I was able to move on to something else. I saw a comment. A nomad. No, not a nomad. Because I am a man who's made a decision to do this, and a commitment. And that's a very important, this is the thing that keeps me grounded. And I'm not saying that my marriage facilitates that alone. It's also the thing that gives me a family and provides companionship. And someone, my wife is someone who weathers the storm of life with me and is with me, sleeps by my side every night, and has shared this journey and knows more about me and one another than anybody else. It's good to have that. But more importantly is that grounding. I know that I would be lost without that grounding. I would be. It's the grounding in this that keeps things relevant. Otherwise, my book would have no relevance to anybody. And I almost went that path. It probably would have been an interesting book if I had gone that path, but it would not have been relevant to anybody else but me. It would have been nonsense. A couple of comments. Be uncomfortable, be a nomad, be uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like to be uncomfortable, but not all the time. And Aaron, hi Aaron, longtime friend of the channel. Morning, Kurt. Oh, so as I teased years ago, I guess I'm off the hook of buying that property. If I win the Powerball. Yeah, you're off the hook. You're off the hook. That was a nice sentiment, though. I appreciate that. Although, given that I'm a senior citizen now, as of last weekend, I will need a place to settle down. And Yumiko and I have this little vision and a dream of a small cabin, still a small cottage is better. Small little place, 1-bedroom place would be fine. Someplace where we can smell the sea in the morning and be able to walk to the amenities downtown and quiet time and just one another, and with some dogs, maybe a cat, and one another to finish off this adventure. So, and I think we're in a good shape to have that 9 more years, and I'll be able to retire. She will too, and then I think we'll be able to go find that place. The question is, will it be here or will it be Japan? Yeah, I do love to be in a seaport. Seaport would be fine. It's got to meet my wife's needs too. Our needs are different, but they're complementary. And I've found long ago that even if I may not necessarily want the same thing my wife wants, when I go the way that she wants to go, I end up going, wow, this is really cool. After all, right? Like I said, a lot of my own stuff, she kind of helps me to stay grounded in a way, and I help her to withdraw a little bit from, the safe and sane. So it's a complementary thing, I like to think. Oh, there we go. So what part does this bridge at Siberia play? Oh, I already wrote that. I read that. Yeah, there you go. The first time I went to the bridge, I did so simply to get out of the sun and escape the heat. The heat, so impossibly intense there in the deep East Mojave during the summer. There's truly no rest from the blaze out there in the open desert. The sunlight out there can surely kill. So much energy piling on across whatever skin is exposed. I can't underline that fact enough. If you haven't experienced it, it's just like, how can I describe it? Have you remember when you were a kid and you were like wrestling with your friends and like you get at the bottom of the dog pile, right? And you'd be unlucky enough to be at the bottom, and one kid after another would be climbing, jumping on top of the pile, right? After like 3 or 4 kids and you're completely covered and you can't even move, but you can feel other kids jumping on the pile. And everything, kind of a muffled thump, and then the added weight, and you start to see it hard to breathe. And after a while, you start to worry a little bit. You're like, holy crap, am I going to stop breathing? And you're like, I've done that a couple times. You're panicking. Hey, let me out, guys. That relentless piling on is what it's like in the desert in the summertime, over 115 degrees, even under the bridge. It's just, the heat just blasts in waves, even in the shade. You know, you're sitting down there under the bridge, and usually the wind prevails into the desert to the east, but every now and then it shifts. The entrance to the bridge faces north and south, and the wind will shift around and it'll blast underneath the bridge, and it's like someone took a giant blow dryer and just shooting you in there, and there's no escape. And if you leave the bridge, it's worse, because then now you're getting direct radiation. That's just the ambient heat. When you step out into the sun and the actual radiation is hitting you, that's the dog pile. It's astonishing. There's truly no rest from the blaze out there in the open desert. The sunlight out there can surely kill. So much energy piling on across whatever skin is exposed. A real threat. That's why those Bedouins would cover everything up. I'm sure of it. I sound like an old man. I'm sure of it. Nothing to take. Yesterday, I had a coffee at Denny's between students, and it was a Denny's by Leisure World, right? And I was surrounded by senior citizens. They were playing oldies on the thing. I guess they cater to that. And all the old people talk around me, and I could relate. I was like, oh yeah, this sounds good. They're talking about, like, you know, stuff that makes sense. Whereas before it sounded like old people talk. Yeah, it's old man me. Yep. It's like the third time I've tried to read this sentence. There's truly no rest from the blaze out there in the open desert. The sunlight out there can surely kill. So much energy piling across whatever skin is exposed. It's good that I read that 3 times, because that's what it's like. Bam, bam, bam. A real threat. Nothing to take lightly. So, on a very hot July day in 2016, I decided to pack some water and a few necessities and hike the 1/4 mile to the nearer of the 2 bridges, which I could see supporting Route 66 to the east and west of Siberia, where flash flood arroyo crossed under the road. I remember that. I mean, I woke up, I was like, wow, no way I'm going out into the desert. The heat's piling on. There's that bridge over there. I think I'm going to go into that. But I didn't choose the one I use now. I chose the other one. There's 2 of them. One to the west and one to the east. And I went to the one to the east, which I was an idiot, is like more than a 1/4 mile. That's like almost half a mile. It's twice as far. So I went there. The first time I did this, I went to the bridge to the east of Siberia. It's a good bridge. And I found some interesting things below it, including a travel book written in Japanese with a hand-penned note, again in Japanese, on the back. Wasn't that a shocker? I find a book in Japanese, a Japanese book with hand-penned Japanese on it, with my background. The note was written by a man who declared that he would not die away from home, in quotation marks, and that he would make it back alive. Now, I couldn't read the Japanese. You guys know I'm a failure at that. But I took a photo of it and took it back to my wife. I went back to that. Okay, so I took that back to my wife. The book was down there. It was like a travel guide, and it had a map on the back of a round-the-world thing. And Yumiko looked at the photos, and she told me that she thinks that this guy was riding a bicycle around the world, and that he had probably stopped at the bridge to escape the heat for whatever, like I was doing, had gone underneath. And the desert tends to drive people to epiphany. And he had that moment where he said, you know, wrote in Japanese in the back, I will not die away from home. That away from home is important. That away from home is really important, because that's what going alone is all about, is realizing, going into these places and realizing you need others. And you can't really go alone. Not if you want to live the best life. It doesn't mean you have to, it doesn't mean you can't live alone. It just means that you need other people. We need to reach out and be connected. Even if we choose to live our lives alone, we still need one another. And this Japanese man under the bridge clearly realized that, under his own bridge. He said, I would make it back alive. He must have been in a pretty extreme situation. I went back to that bridge again a few months later. The Japanese book was still there. The shade was good there. It was a fine place to rest and find shelter. The bridge served well the important purpose I was then after. And I've been back since, like I said. I haven't been back since then. It's been years since I've been there. I imagine the book is still under the girders. There's a few other things down there, but I forgot what they are. It wasn't until a year later before I tried the other bridge, the bridge to the west. I decided to give that other bridge a try when I realized the western bridge was closer to the Siberia ruins than the eastern bridge. The fact of being close was good, as it allowed me to better keep an eye on my motorcycle parked back at the ghost town ruins, which I periodically check on by popping my head out from under the bridge to make sure nobody is loading my bike onto a truck or sending match to the gas tank to create a desert bonfire. I do that. Every now and then I'll pop out, clamber, because the bridge it's not as tall as me. So I have to kind of clamber under the bridge, and I go up on the berm and just take a look. Is anybody out there messing with my bike? And I've seen people messing with my bike. But they were usually nice people, and they left a note. There was also something good about the space below the western bridge, though there's not much headroom down there. But there's also something more. This is important. The sand is very soft and good for sitting. It's a good place to plop down and think. And that's how the riding got started. Just sitting on the soft sand below the bridge, with the sun roasting the desert beyond my shade, and the sound of periodic automobiles crossing fast overhead, and the frequent rumble and growl of mile-long freight trains moving by slowly a quarter mile to the north. This setting under the western Route 66 bridge became my place at Siberia Ghost Town, a sort of circumstance and atmosphere where I could cultivate and get to know better the muse I'd met earlier out there at the edge of the blank desert wilderness. A dead muse who seemed willing and able to follow me, sometimes to the places where I go, and where I'm willing and able to think. To think without much distraction, I can't willingly ignore. To think without much distraction, I can't willingly ignore. That's important. That's the reason to go to the bridge. The distraction that I can't ignore. All this stuff, you're hearing all these sounds, the music, the blender over there at Starbucks, the people walking by. This is all the distractions that mask the emptiness that pervades the universe. The void that I call the great indifference that makes me gulp. It's pretty astonishing, it's pretty scary that you can only see or apprehend in very, very remote places and when you're utterly alone. To think without much distraction I can't willingly ignore. To think where the conventions of my kind and the ways of our collective consensus appear as weak sentiments easily put aside in favor of whatever else can be proven more sound and compelling. This is the bridge where I wrote much of the content found within Going Alone, especially the content under the heading Notes from My Muse. This is the bridge where I discovered the solution of developing a life of meaning in the face of a universe which seems so far devoid of inherent meaning or purpose beyond the mute scope of survival and the worthy act of passing our life from ourselves into those who will soon take our place. This is the home of my desert muse and the place where I found the words of the story I do choose now to tell. That's the end of the chapter. So Siberia Bridge is not the place where I found the muse, but where the muse, the energies and the efforts, there are no energies. It's just whatever energy I've got. It's a place where I found where that inspiration that I call the muse is readily accessible, almost in a moment's notice. There's a video I posted just 2 days ago called "The Writing of." It's the writing of the chapter of the new book called the chapter is called the Principle of Nature, and I literally sat down. As I said in the video, I sat down with a pen and a blank piece of paper, and I looked at the camera and I said, I have no idea what I'm going to write, but I've got a title, and I just sat down and started writing. And the reason I was able to do that was that I was under the bridge. And the muse is just there for me. It's the muse. It whispers in my ear at every instant. It's a fascinating thing. No place ever. I've never really had any place like that. In Japan, I would go to the mountains and walk the mountain trails or not trails and the roads. And periodically, the muse would come whispering by and whisper something in my ear. And maybe I would start a video and make one of those Lyle's Brother videos or something like that. Or every now and then it happens here. But out in the desert, especially under the bridge, it's like turning on a water faucet tap. Okay, let's see. The silence of meaning. The ghost says, "Old man Kurt." Yeah, that's me. The ghost says, "The silence of the meaninglessness is the most deafening thing known to all." That's a good sentence. The silence of the meaninglessness is the most, yeah, and I think that's why we mask it with all the distractions of our living. So many things to distract us from the emptiness. So many things to tell us that there's meaning, to give us an idea that there's some significance to our lives beyond our own agreement, our handshake, you and me, that, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that bit of Thoreau was really good. The universe doesn't give a darn. Oh, and someone's on the website. Hi. and Bill says, good morning, Kurt. Good morning, Bill. And by the way, Bill, I enjoy your the photos of your rocks out there, the characters that you put in the rocks. It's an example of attributing meaning into the universe where we can find it, huh? And with that, everybody, I think that's it. It hasn't been, and someone else just popped on the website. Looks like I'm getting all kinds of visitors on the website. And Bill says, find a mammoth in the desert. I know they are there. I've seen one in one of your videos. I know Bill, if you guys don't know Bill has the ability to, there's a word for this, I don't know what it is, it's not anthropomorphize. What would you call that? Lifeomorphize? Is that a word? Can I make that up? Where you can see, it's like seeing faces in the clouds. And Bill has the ability to do that with in the landscape, in geology. And so he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and so he posts his photos over there. Bill, do you colorize those somehow? Because they kind of look like their tones are kind of, the color tones are kind of highlighted. But I was like looking at those and trying to see and kind of see what you're seeing. I can't always see it. I like your dog in the photos too. You see the remnants of Atlantis. Wow. And someone says, IDVSB says, over the years, I've thoroughly enjoyed looking at the world from your point of view. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing. You're very welcome. And I thank you for joining me here today. And guys, with that, I think I'm gonna sign off. It's been almost exactly 1 hour since I started the camera. And we got through a whole chapter. Remember, this is the annotated version where I'm actually doing commentary as I go. This week I'm actually going to upload the audio version, which is just me reading it without any commentary, and that's from the acoustics of the desert. You put your pictures through an AI app. I thought you did. Yeah, they look good. Hello, Joey. Have a good day, Kurt. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go wake my family up, take the dog for a walk, and then go enjoy my birthday day. My family's taking me out for lunch. I told Emily she's got a lot of friends from Korea and China and all over the place. And I said, I want to go ask one of her friends for a good recommendation of a really good Korean food. I want to get that whole plate of all the different kimchis out there, and we're going to do that. And then maybe we're going to go see the Marvel movie, and I'm going to get my birthday present today. I'm so excited. I feel like a kid. Yeah. No, it's not. You know, my birthday was the 19th, and officially a senior citizen, Shani. But I was working both Saturday and Sunday last week. 19th, I think, was Sunday. So we deferred my birthday until today. Thank you, everybody. 55. Yes, Peter, I'm 55 now. I am a senior citizen. You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you all later. And thank you for all these birthday wishes that are coming through. And we'll see you next month for another reading of Going Alone. 61. All right, Bill. Happy birthday to you, I guess, if it's near your birthday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.